From one exclusive to another, after launching a spree of new products, Lava India aims to be driven by high localization. Speaking to my colleague Ashmit Kumar, Lava's president and business head Sunil Raina said that the company is pushing for contract manufacturing. The company has also welcomed import curbs on laptops, tablets and personal computers.
In the last 3 years, particularly after the geopolitical scenario changed and there have been issues, the acceptance for Indian brands has gone up. You see it in different industries. You see it in cars. You see it in other places. You also see it in. We also feel that there is a increase in the demand for Indian products per se. But having said that, it's not. People are not going to accept any emotional pitch unless and until it is backed by the real product behind it, right? So in every field where the product has delivered, this emotion has actually taken it only higher, right? That's exactly what we are doing. So we have worked very hard on the product for the last 2-3 years on the smartphone side, and because now our products are competitive, our products can compete with the global players. So that's why we're also seeing much higher acceptance than we used to have maybe some time back.
You talk of competition with the global players. One area where you're directly competing with them, of course, is the 5G segment. That's by many phone manufacturers is seen as the next growth driver. You were one of the early movers in the affordable 5G segment. So that's sub 11,000, sub 11,000, 12,000. Now we are seeing increasing competition coming in from the Chinese players as well. Just your sense in terms of, one, 5G as a growth driver, and second, competition from some of these Chinese players in that segment which is seeking to democratize 5G.
The competition is good. In fact, it's very good because when more players come in, the technology becomes more and more accessible to the people and also pushes you to do better, right? But having said that, this segment, which is about 10 to 15,000 rupees segment, is something that we cracked first with our 5G offering, because we have a very clear agenda that we want to make 5G accessible to the masses as early as possible. To the extent that in the next 1 year's time, I see that Lava's entire portfolio will shift to 5G completely, which means 100% of our models will be on 5G completely. So we have taken the lead because we believe this has to become more and more accessible faster. And that's why we were the first in the world actually to bring a 5G smartphone at that price point, right? And we'll keep doing that. We'll keep breaching each price point on the lower side so that it is massified faster.
Do you also have a target in mind as to what you're looking at? You mentioned that there is a great amount of focus that Lava has given on upstream. Is there a strategy that you have or a figure that you would have in terms of what is the target for value addition local here in India? Is there a figure that you're working with or some kind of understanding?
Yeah. So if you see today, there are two things. One is we do 100% manufacturing in India, right? So all our products are manufactured in India. So that's 100% activity. Other activity is the component ecosystem creation. So today, roughly about 40% localization we have already achieved in the smartphones. But then there are these bigger components like you have chipsets, you have memory and other things we still have, maybe a couple of years away. Once that ecosystem also comes in, then we'll be able to do it 100% here in India.
Is there perhaps a policy tweak required? Because like you mentioned, you're the only Indian brand. You would I'm sure, want to see other Indian brands come up as well. Is there a policy tweak required to help perhaps the local domestic ecosystem?
Of course, there are a couple of things that need to be done. One, of course, is on the manufacturing side, which I think the very strong steps that have been taken. The supply chain ecosystem creation in India is also being done to a large extent. Then there is this one area, which is the area of innovation, and which will come from R&D. I think now the next step for the government should be to encourage innovation through R&D activities in India.
Trying to understand and decode some of these policy decisions. One decision that came out recently was the decision to impose import restrictions on laptops, tablets and PCs. I just want to get your sense from a domestic manufacturer standpoint. How are you looking at it? Because the broader industry push seems to be that, look, perhaps not the right time. Maybe push it down the road. Maybe allow for the PLI IT hardware to settle down, give us a year or two. Just want to get your understanding vis-a-vis what the industry has been pushing the government to do.
I think change is always uncomfortable, I would say. But changes are required nevertheless.
Sure.
I think from my perspective, we missed the previous bus on growing the manufacturing and the other ecosystem in India, and that bus was actually taken by China. Could have been ours at that time, right? But now the pace that we are picking up, there would be some of these inconvenient decisions that will have to be taken, and they're only good for the future. There's, practically speaking, there's never a good time to do something like this. So, but whenever you do it, it will lead to better results, I'm pretty sure. And I think it's a positive development, and it should be encouraged and it should be appreciated, I would say.
Before this conversation began, you had also hinted at some of the other growth vectors that you're looking at. You spoke of acquisitions that you're making in South America. You spoke of the possibility of contract manufacturing. Give us a sense, is this going to be a separate vertical within Lava that we'll see? Are you trying to be perhaps like the Foxconn of India? Is that perhaps the next growth trajectory, growth vector that you have in mind for Lava?
So I think there are clearly two different tracks that we are taking. One is the brand story that we have, and building a brand in India first, and then taking it global. And in globally also, you have organic means of growth and your inorganic means of growth. You spoke about this company that we acquired with about 21 countries in Latin America, and we are able to cover all those countries through this acquisition that we have done. So that's one route of growing internationally. And then there is the other part, which is the manufacturing facility that we have, the capacity that we have. In fact, in multiple audits, our factory is now a global standard factory, which means any company in the world who wants to do world-class manufacturing, get it outsourced, can come to us, and we'll be able to do it. And we're already doing with some of them. There are two distinct tracks, like I said, they will run on their own as far as this whole story is concerned.
Fair enough. But is contract manufacturing the next big thing for you? You think that is something that will hold potential?
Yeah, that's I would say significantly big, going to be big for us. I mean, that'll be pretty big for us as well.
You mentioned acquisitions that you're making in South America. Are you also open to the idea of perhaps being acquired by a larger player and to work within the ecosystem of a larger company to grow this brand even further? Is that something perhaps on the cards? Is that something that we can look at in terms of at least being on the table, having a negotiation?
I don't think so. I think we are very, very focused on building a very strong Indian brand which can go global. And that's where our pride lies. And that's what the vision of the company is, to make a real multinational, global smartphone brand for the world. So that's what our aspiration is. And we would like to stick to that.
With that, it's a wrap on this edition of News Center. More news and updates continue right here on CNBC-TV18.